So children and all others who are here with us today on this Sunday morning, eager to read with us, let me just tell you that we are currently reading My Family and Other Animals, which is part of the Corfu trilogy. The name Corfu is actually the setting. It's the island on which this entire book is, or the incidents in the book are all happening on Corfu Island, which is in Greece. And the book is about and by a naturalist who was the founder of the World Wildlife Fund. Gerald Durrell is his name. And the book is about Gerald when he was a very small boy, about 10 to 12 years of age. He grew up in this island of Corfu and he was homeschooled. He had very interesting teachers who came to teach him, and he was naturally interested in all kinds of creatures in nature, and he has beautifully written about his adventures, capturing some of these, studying them very closely, and telling us about his eccentric family and friends that came to Corfu to spend time with them. We will come across many such humorous incidents, but more than anything, this book, this entire collection of anecdotes and stories and incidents is absolutely informative, and it gives us a lot of insight into the world of all kinds of creatures, from the smallest to the biggest, which Gerald came across as he was growing up in the island of Corfu. And for a child who never went to school, who was homeschooled, look at the richness of his language, look at the richness of the experiences that he had, which led him to become the only owner of a zoo in the world. In a place called New Jersey in England, Gerald Durrell set up a zoo where he decided that he will look after animals which are endangered, which are on the verge of becoming extinct. So we are midway, halfway, or a little more than halfway through this book. And it does not matter if you don't have too many, you haven't read the earlier chapters. You can go back to our recordings of the earlier chapters, or you can procure the book, you can get the book and you can read it. But let me tell you that so far we have read about his family. He has two brothers, Lawrence Durrell and Leslie Durrell, who are both much elder to him. And he has a sister called Margaret, his mother. They live in this beautiful house in Corfu. He has teachers, as I've already told you, and we'll come across all these people as we continue reading the book. So here we are, My Family and Other Animals. Still the guests came, overflowing the drawing room into the dining room and out of the French windows onto the veranda. Some of them had come thinking that they would be bored, and after an hour or so, they enjoyed themselves so much that they called their carriages, went home, and reappeared with the rest of their families. The wine flowed, the air was blue with cigarette smoke, and the geckos were too frightened to come out of the cracks in the ceiling because of the noise and laughter. In one corner of the room, Theodore, having daringly removed his coat, was dancing the Calamitiano with Leslie and several other of the more exhilarated guests, their feet crashing and shuddering on the floor as they leapt and stamped. The butler, having perhaps taken a little more wine than was good for him, was so carried away by the sight of the national dance that he put his tray down and joined in, leaping and stamping as vigorously as anyone, in spite of his age, his coat tails flapping behind him. Mother, smiling in a rather forced and distraught manner, was wedged between the English padre, who was looking with increasing disapproval at the revelry, and the Belgian council, who was chattering away in her ear and twirling his moustache. So remember, it was the celebration of Gerald Durrell's birthday, and all kinds of guests had come, much more than what was expected. And their maid Lucretia had to go on leave because she got very sick. And since the numbers were so large, Spyro got them this English butler who came in his coat tail, and that's the butler that we are talking about. And there is a padre here who is not approving of all this dancing and loudness that is going on. The word padre means a priest. Okay, the priest of a church is also sometimes called padre. So, Spyro appeared from the kitchen to find out where the butler had to go and promptly joined in the calamatinu. Balloons drifted across the room, bouncing against the dancers' legs, exploding suddenly with loud bangs. Larry, out on the veranda, was endeavoring to teach a group of Greeks some of the finer English limericks. Puke and Whittle had gone to sleep in someone's hat. Dr. Androcelli arrived and apologized to Mother for being late. It was my wife, madame. She has just been delivered of a baby, he said with pride. Oh, congratulations, doctor, said Mother. We must drink to them. Spyro, exhausted by the dance, was sitting on the sofa nearby, fanning himself. What's, he roared at on Androcelli, scowling ferociously. You gets another babies? Yes, Spyro, a boy, said Androcelli, beaming. How many's you got now? Asked Spyro. 6. Only 6, said the doctor in surprise. Why? You ought to be ashamed of yourself, said Spyro in disgust. 6? Gollies, carrying on like cats and dogses. But I like children, protested Androcelli. When I got married, I asks my wife how many she wants, said Spyro in a loud voice. And she says twos. So I give her twos, and then I gets her all sewed up. 6 children? Honest to God, you make me want to throw cats and dogs. Yes, ma'am. Next page, please. At this point, the English padre decided that he would, most reluctantly, have to leave, as he had a long day ahead of him tomorrow. Mother and I saw him out, and when we returned, Androcelli and Spyro had joined the dancers. The sea was dawn calm, and the eastern horizon flushed with pink when we stood yawning at the front door, and the last carriage clopped its way down the drive. As I lay in bed with Roger across my feet, a puppy on each side of me, and Ulysses sitting fluffed out on the pelmet, I gazed through the window at the sky, watching the pink spread across the olive top, extinguishing the stars one by one, and thought that, taken all around, it had been an extremely good birthday party. Very early next morning, I packed my collecting gear and some food, and with Roger, Whittle, and Puke as company, set off on a voyage in the Bootle Bum Trinket. The sea was calm. The sun was shining out of a gentian blue sky, and there was just the faintest breeze. It was a perfect day. The Bootlebum Trinket wallowed up the coast in a slow and dignified manner, while Roger sat in the bows as lookout, and Whittle and Puke ran from one side of the boat to the other, fighting, trying to lean over the side and drink the sea, and generally behaving in a pathetically landlubberish fashion. The joy of having a boat of your own, the feeling of pleasant power as you pulled on the oars and felt the boat surge forward with a quick rustle of water like someone cutting silk, the sun gently warming your back and making the sea surface flicker with 100 different colors, the thrill of wending your way through the complex maze of weed, shaggy reefs that glowed just beneath the surface of the sea. It was even with pleasure that I contemplated the blisters that were rising on my palms, making my hands feel stiff and awkward. Though I spent many days voyaging in the Bootlebum Trinket and had many adventures, there was nothing to compare with that very first voyage. Okay, so what's a voyage? Anyone here? And does anyone remember what was Bootlebum Trinket? Any one of the regular readers? Those who are with us in the last two, yeah, a long journey is a voyage. That's right, Siddharth. And does anyone remember what was named Bootlebum Trinket and why? Anyone here who was there in the last reading and the reading before that? No? Whereas today, I think Myra hasn't joined today. What about our other regular readers?
Name of the boat.
Yes, it was the name of the boat. Thank you, Manisha ma'am. And this was the boat which Gerald's brother Leslie had built. And since it was round in shape, it was given this name, right? So Gerald took this boat and went on different adventures and long journeys. And he says nothing could have compared to the first voyage, the first journey that he had in the Bootlebum Trinket. The sea seemed bluer, more limpid and transparent. The island seemed more remote, sun-drenched and enchanting than ever before. And it seemed as if the life of the sea had congregated in the little bays and channels to greet me and my new boat. 100 feet or so from an islet, I shipped the oars and scrambled up to the bows, where I lay side by side with Roger, peering down through a fathom of crystal water at the sea bottom, while the Bootlebum Trinket floated towards the shore with the placid buoyancy of a celluloid duck as the boat's turtle-shaped shadow edged across the seabed, the multicolored, ever-moving tapestry of sea life was unfolded. So I just want you all to understand this description better. So Gerald says that he and Roger were lying on the boat and looking into the water, into the deep sea, and look at this word over here. He says, peering down through a fathom of crystal water at the sea bottom. The water was crystal clear, and through the fathom is actually depth. And you measure the depth of the sea. The unit of measurement is also called fathom. Okay. So when they looked down through the water, he could see absolutely clear. He could see that Bum Trinket was floating on the water and it had the buoyancy of a celluloid duck. What is buoyancy? I'm sure some of the older students over here would know what is buoyancy. Why do things float on the water? because they have a quality in them which is called buoyancy. Buoyancy is the quality that makes lighter things float on the water. Not only lighter things, anything, even our human bodies, we have buoyancy. Okay? Yes, the force applied by water is what Vaishnavi is saying. So, when you put certain objects on the water, because of the buoyancy, it floats on the. There's a whole science lesson to this. I'm not going into that. But the word in English, when we simply read for the layman, buoyancy is the ability to be able to stay afloat, to stay on the water, right? So, through the boat, they could see the shore and everything on the seabed, right? Multicolored, ever moving tapestry of sea life. Tapestry is like a pattern which is drawn or painted or embroidered, right? So they saw this tapestry of sea life, all kinds of variety of sea life on the seabed is what they could see through the crystal clear water. In the patches of silver sand, the clams were stuck upright in small clusters, their mouths gaping. Wedged between the shell's horny lips, here would be a tiny pale ivory pea crab, the frail, soft-shelled, degenerate creature that lived a parasitic life in the safety of the great shell's corrugated walls. It was interesting to set off the calm colony's burglar alarm. I drifted over a group of them until they lay below, gaping up at me, and then gently edged the handle of the butterfly net down and tapped on the shell. Immediately, the shell snapped shut, the movement causing a small puff of white sand to swirl up like a tornado. As the currents of the shell's alarm slid through the water, the rest of the colony felt them. In a moment, clams were slamming their front doors shut left and right, and the water was full of little whirls of sand, drifting and swirling about the shells, falling back to the seabed like silver dust. Interspersed with the clams were the serpulars, beautiful feathery petals, forever moving round and round, perched on the end of a long, thick, grayish tube. The moving petals, orange, gold, and blue, looked curiously out of place on the end of these stubby stalks like an orchid on a mushroom stem. Again, the serpulars had a burglar alarm system, but it was much more sensitive than the clams. The net handle would get within 6 inches of the whirlpool of shimmering petals, and they would suddenly all point skywards, bunch together, and dive head first down the stalk, so that all that was left was a series of what looked like bits of miniature hosepipe stuck in the sand. So, this is all a description of the wonderful things that Gerald noticed under the water. On the reefs, there were only a few inches below the water, and they were uncovered at low tide. You found the thickest congregation of life. Congregation is a collection. So on the reefs, which they were a whole lot of creatures, whole lot of living things. In the holes were the pouting blennies, which stared at you with their thick lips, giving their faces an expression of negroid insolence as they fluttered their fins at you. In the shady clefts among the weeds, the sea urchins would be gathered in clusters, like shiny brown horse chestnut seed cases, their spines moving gently like compass needles towards possible danger. Around them, The anemones clung to the rocks, plump and lustrous, their arms waving in an abandoned and somehow Eastern-looking dance in an effort to catch the shrimps that flipped past transparent as glass. I'm sure, Jugjiv sir, you are reminded again of Tintin. Sea urchin was another favorite of Captain Haddock, right? So you come across the sea urchin here. Children, if you have read Tintin, you will also be able to relate to that, okay? Routing in the dark, underwater caverns, I unearthed a baby octopus who settled on the rocks like a Medusa head, blushed to a muddy brown, and regarded me with rather sad eyes from beneath the bald dome of its head. Now, who has read the Greek stories about Medusa? Who knows what goddess was Medusa and how did she look? Medusa, there was a very peculiar quality about Medusa. Medusa had this, curly hair, a whole lot of hair on her head. Yes, thank you, Vaishnavi. I'm so glad you know about her. Medusa's peculiar feature was indeed her hair, right? So that's what Gerald is comparing the baby octopus to. You know how the octopus looks? Octopus have 8 arms or legs or whatever you call them, right? And the head looks absolutely bald. The rest of the body looks like a bald head, but it seems to be flowing with the hair of Medusa, kind of thing. So, as I told you, every little thing in this book is something which you can imagine, which you can visualize and picturize it in your own minds. Then the chapter becomes that much more interesting. So, a further movement on my part, and it spat out a small storm cloud of black ink that hung and rolled in the clear water. Now, this ink is not really ink, but a black liquid. Yes, and this liquid is something that it does in order to protect. It's a defense mechanism. So, if it senses danger, it spurts a storm of black ink that hung and rolled in the clear water while the octopus skimmed off behind it, shooting through the water with its arms trailing behind it, looking like a streamer decorated balloon. There were crabs too, fat, green, shiny ones on the tops of the reef, waving their claws in what appeared to be a friendly manner. And down below, on the weedy bed of the sea, the spider crabs, with their strange spiky edged shells, their long, thin legs, each wearing a coat of weeds, sponges, or occasionally an anemone which they had carefully planted on their backs. Everywhere on the reefs, the weed patches, the sandy bottom, moved hundreds of top shells, neatly striped and speckled in blue, silver, gray, and red, with the scarlet and rather indignant face of a hermit crab peering out from underneath. They were like small, ungainly caravans moving about, bumping into each other, barging through the weeds, or rumbling swiftly across the sand among the towering clamshells and sea fans. The sun sank lower, and the water in the bays and below the tottering castles of rock was washed with the slate grey of evening shadow. Slowly, the oars creaking softly to themselves, I rowed the Bootlebum trinket homewards. Whittle and Puke lay asleep, exhausted by the sun and the sea air, their paws twitching, their ginger eyebrows moving as they chased dream crabs across endless reefs. Roger sat surrounded by glass jars and tubes in which tiny fish hung suspended. Anemones waved their arms, and spider crabs touched the sides of their glass prisons with delicate claws. He sat staring down into the jars, ears pricked, occasionally looking up at me and wagging his tail briefly before becoming absorbed once again in his studies. Roger was a keen student of marine life. The sun gleamed like a coin behind the olive trees, and the sea was striped with gold and silver when the bootle bum trinket brought her round behind, bumping gently against the jetty. Hungry, thirsty, tired, with my head buzzing full of the colors and shapes I had seen, I carried my precious specimens slowly up the hill to the villa while the three dogs, yawning and stretching, followed behind. Right, great. We finished this chapter here, and I would like to urge all the student participants here to please go over some of these recordings, listen to the chapters, because there's so much that you can learn, and there's so many words that you can add to your own vocabulary. There's so much you can discover about all these sea creatures also. We came across so many names today, some of which even I would like to Google and find out about, like sarpulas. I really don't know what sarpulas are. So I would like to do that myself, right? So Anuradha, Bootle Bum Cricket is the name of the boat. You remember when Leslie decided to give his brother a gift? His brother wanted a boat which he could take himself. So a boat was built by his brother Leslie for Gerald as a birthday gift. It was named Bootle Bum Cricket. It's a small little roundish kind of a boat. So if you listen to the recording of that particular reading, the last week and probably the week before that, you will come across how they went about to build this little boat and how it got its name, right? Okay. Is there anything that any one of you would like to share with us before Jugjiv sir goes on to the next segment of today's reading session? Is there anyone who would like to share? I just want to know whether all of you are following what is being read and are actually trying to understand it. I understand that there are many, many words and phrases which may be difficult. It doesn't matter. You need to get the gist of it. You need to get what is being said here, right? So even if you haven't understood chunks of certain portions there, it doesn't really matter as long as you have understood what is going on in the chapter in the life of Gerald. Okay? And then when you listen, when you listen to this again, then a lot of things will make better sense to you. That's the way by which you improve your vocabulary, your general knowledge, and then you get interested in finding out more, right? Yes, sir. It's 11 a.m. And would you like to say something connected to this book?
Yeah. I think that, in today's world where the attention spans are becoming smaller and smaller,
Yes.
unfortunately, there is no methodology uh, to fix it except to practice and try.
Yes.
And I find that
Absolutely.
just listening to you read this book is a good way, and what you said about imagining, right? Because actually, if you try and imagine it, I mean, it's described very, very well, very, very vividly.
Yes.
It's a fantastic description. So it's actually good practice to sort of slow down. That's what I'm finding, you
Yeah.
know.
And Jugjiv sir, there is something called an abstract thinking. And unfortunately, with such a lot of visual media that has come into being now, a lot of visualization is getting corrupted. So children are not developing this sense of abstract thinking, which is very essential for them to understand a lot of concepts in higher math and in physics or even in chemistry for that matter. Even biology, when you and I were in school, our teachers would, out of their imagination, draw the heart or the nervous system and things like that on the board for us. We didn't have a video representation of how the heart pumps and things like that, but we imagined it. And I think we are richer by that imagination. We are able to kind of close our eyes and think that, okay, I want it like this. So you need a lot of abstract thinking, not only to understand and be able to do math and things like that, but even if you want to, let's say, decorate your room, or you want to set up your room, you need to have that abstract thinking to be able to close your eyes and think, okay, I want the setting of my room to be in this way, right? So, and then put it down on a paper and tell your designer or your architect, look, this is what I want, right? So abstract thinking is something that we all need in our lives. And one way to develop abstract thinking is by reading. And when you read and you listen to descriptions and you start imagining them in your mind and you build pictures in your mind, you develop this ability to think in an abstract way. And that's going to help you in many, many different areas. So I would urge everybody to, actually make an effort to think in an abstract manner and understand things, right? Okay. Once a teacher, always a teacher. So thank you so much, everybody. Have a good Sunday, and we shall meet next week and continue to read Gerald Durrell. Thank you, Manisha ma'am, and thank you, Jugjiv sir. Bye-bye.
Thank you, ma'am.
Bye.
Thank you, ma'am. I think the point Brinda ma'am was making about visualization, she also suggested that you could actually draw, what is being described, and that's the
Yes.
other way you can do this. I think while it's being described, if you try and draw, it would be fairly powerful.
Yeah. Jugjiv sir, before I leave, in IGCSE as well as in ICSE, in the art examination, they have a paper on composition. So very interestingly, stanzas of poetry would be given to children, and they would be asked to imagine and draw whatever is described in the stanza, and that would be their composition. It's left to them to imagine how they want to, portray that description. But that's how it works. That when you have this concept of being able to visualize and put all the imagery down on paper, it's a beautiful exercise that happens, and it really helps us grow. So future authors, you want to start writing, you want to become authors, you need to have abstract thinking. You want to do well in maths and science, you need to be able to think in an abstract. All engineers, all these IT people, all of them have tremendous abstract thinking powers. Otherwise, they can't create what they're thinking, what they're actually creating for us. Right? Thank you. I'll keep repeating this again and again. I'm digging it into you all. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Manisha, ma'am, do you want to just put up the reflections?
Okay, sir. Just 1 minute.
Yeah. Let's see. I think reflection was by Ishika. I'm not sure if Ishika is there. Anybody else who would like to read what Ishika wrote? Any volunteers to read? Raise your hand and Manisha ma'am will unmute you.
Oh.
Right? Any?
So let me play the My Good School song, and after that we will read this. Is that okay?
Sure.
Let me know if the it's audible to you.
Yeah.
We are here at my good school. Things here are so cool. Together we learn, together we create, together we meditate. teachers here are awesome. We learn good values, we learn many skills, we soar above the hills. Let's shout it out, hey, let's all be proud, hey, hands off to my good school. Just what we need, hey, for us to succeed, hey, are all here in my good school.
So this was a My Good School song. So when you'll go to the website, you will be able to see My Good School song here on the right side. If you can see my screen, and you all can play, and the lyrics are also written, so you'll be able to see and recite with that. Now coming to Ishika, she has written a wonderful post on importance of kindness and
Any?
encouragement. Is Ishika present?
No, I don't see Ishika around. Anybody else? I
From
don't think
Balia.
she's there. Any
Ishika is there.
volunteers?
Ishika is there. Ishika is there. Just give me 1 minute. Where is Ishika? Ishika, please raise your hand again. I cannot find you. Yeah. Ishika, you are unmuted. You may please read your write-up, the reflection.
Okay, ma'am. In today's My Good School session, Jugjiv sir read the story What You Are Looking For is in the Library. We learned how Natsumi's life improved when her husband began supporting her more, helping with the daughter and prioritizing the family. We also saw Kiriyama's kindness when he encouraged Natsumi after her rejection by Cherry Peach editorial publication and guided her towards Maple Publications, even recommending her to the editor-in-chief. When Natsumi asked why he was helping her, he explained that he simply wanted more good books in the world, revealing his selflessness and belief in her talent. The story also highlighted the welcoming environment at Maple Publications, where children were warmly accepted, helping Natsumi realize that her child was not a barrier to her career. The Sunday school session taught me the importance of kindness, encouragement, family support, and a positive outlook towards both work and family life.
Thank you, Ishika. I think I just wanted to highlight one thing that I mean, you're coming here, you're listening to us read, we're having some conversations. The purpose is for you to reflect on those conversations, right? Uh, Otherwise, the activity is not really complete because the purpose is really for you to gain something out of it. And the key thing that you can do is to think about what has been talked about here, what is it that we've read, anything it brings out for you. So it's important that you do that. And so thank you, Ishika, for doing this because I think this is the purpose that you reflect on something that you read and everybody thinks differently, everybody have different thoughts. So it's important that you do this piece as well after Sunday school. Otherwise, in my book, the activity will really be incomplete and you won't be getting as much from this session as you can. Yeah, we can have the book now, Manisha,
Yes,
ma'am.
sir. I just want to add what you said right now. See, when we are reflecting, it's not only that it is coming to our website, it is also bringing you all to one step closer to yourself. It is about self-awareness. When you're reading out your mind aloud in front of all of us, it is showing a positive reflection of your own self. It is showing that what you are thinking, how you are thinking, and where and what you're thinking is and how your thinking is going to impact others. So self-awareness is also there, which is going to be helpful for you to understand yourself better and the community also better. Because when you're doing self-aware, when you're finding out about yourself, it is self-awareness. When you're managing everything, so you're also learning self-management. And after this, it will be coming about society. So, in order to understand what is happening in the society, what is going on with the other things, and how you're going to be a wonderful person as you already are, and how you're going to better in everything, reflection is important because that is how you will be getting matured. When you're speaking in front of others, you will be managing your time, you'll be managing everything all together. You'll be understanding the people around you, what, when, where, and how about everything. And then in the end, you'll be managing the relationship. And in the end, you will be a responsible decision maker. So when we say the 3R is the vision of My Go School, reading, reflection, and building relationship, it is all about you. So reflection is not only for us to publish, it is for you to be more clear about what you want in your life. Thank you so much for now, and I'll just put up the book.
Yeah, so thank
So
you
is
for
my
that,
screen
Manisha.
visible to you?
Yeah,
Okay, so
yeah,
we'll be starting with
fantastic.
chapter 4.
Yeah. So, as Manisha ma'am said, as I have said before, self-awareness is a superpower. So, this is a means to developing it, and what ma'am spelled out for you is the five elements of socio-emotional learning, right? So that's a very critical. That's very critical to be successful in the world. Always has been, but even specifically more today, it is far more. It is very very valuable. So starts with self-awareness and which starts with reflection. So thank you for connecting all this, Manisha ma'am. So we are reading. What you are looking for is in the library, right? So just go back, Manisha ma'am. So that's now that just go back. Okay, so just go back. The picture. Yeah, no, just want you to show the picture. Yeah. Okay, so can anybody tell me like what are you? I mean, what are you seeing here? What is it that you? What impression do you get? What is it that you're seeing? What do you see? You can put it in chat or raise your hand, and Manisha ma'am will. Okay, Rishit says a person buying groceries. Okay, a man is seeing books. Okay, so if you look carefully, the man has got vegetables in his hand, right? So uh, that's why you're saying you're seeing with groceries uh, and buying books because he sees books all around. Uh, does it look like a bookstore? Just look at it carefully. Does it look like a bookstore? Does it really look like a bookstore? A bookstore is like this, right? Where there's no light and books are like stacked up till the ceiling. Are bookstores like this? You guys are saying yes. Okay, I don't see bookstores like this. The ones that I've seen, including the English Book Depot in Dehradun. But there's Home Bookstore close by in Gurgaon. Uh, bookstores that are not stacked up so high and not so short. I mean, this place would have less light, right? Natural light because of the fact the way the book, the bookshelves are going so high. So anyway, this we will come across this scene uh, shortly, right? Yeah, man is looking for something in the library as he has bought vegetables already. Vaishnavi, well done. Okay, we will find out that's exactly correct. Okay, so this chapter 4 is about Hiroya. Hiroya is, yeah, next page, ma'am. Hiroya is 30 and he is neat. Okay, neat means not in employment, education, or training. Okay, now if you Google this number for India, okay, in the same age bracket, that number will surprise you a lot. Okay, it's a very high number. And if you Google the percentage of graduates who are unemployed in the 15 to 25 age group. That number in India is also very high. Okay, so this is something that's prevalent in India, and that's why it's important for all of you to pick up skills that will be useful tomorrow. Okay, you don't want to be in the state where Hiroya is in now, which is not in employment, education, or training when you're 30 years old. Okay, and we'll see what happened to him, and why he ended up being there, and then we can talk more about it then. The bunch I hung out with as a kid taught me a lot. They weren't always human or from Earth, and they came from anywhere in time, ranging from the prehistoric past to the distant future, sometimes even other dimensions. But they were my buddies, more real to me than my classmates ever were. I never got bored when I was with them. They were cool, fun to be with, brave and kind. They fought evil with their special powers and won the heart of the prettiest girl. I always got a thrill at seeing them, no matter how often we met. What do you think Hiroya is referring to? What do you think this is? Okay, he says they weren't always human or from Earth. They came from anywhere in time, ranging from the prehistoric past to the distant future, sometimes even other dimensions. What could they be? They were cool, fun to be with, brave and kind. They fought evil with their special powers and won the heart of the prettiest girl. What is he referring to? What do you think? Who are these people? Who are these people? Who is he referring to? Okay, Ishika says fictional characters from the book he read. Anybody else? Any other thoughts? What else can he be referring to? Any other thoughts? Okay, so Ishika, hold your thought. This answer will come in due course. Okay. It's a Friday afternoon and I'm sitting on the sofa watching TV. Mom dumps her bags of vegetables on the kitchen table. They had these great big daikon today, Mura daikon. They're called. February is the season for them. They were enormous. Daikon is Safed Mooli, a white radish. And Miura daikon is from a particular province of Japan, right? And they were big. And Miura daikon are a little more rounded at the end versus the moolies and radishes we are used to see, right? And they've come in February. When do we get? When do you see mooli coming in India? When does mooli come? Which month? Which season? Do you remember? When do you start getting radish in the market here? What is mooli season? February? I don't think so. February is where uh, this Miura daikon are coming in Japan, not here. February is late. I think moolies come earlier. In India, when do moolies come? गर्मी में आती है, सर्दियों में आती है. Beginning of the winter season. Yes, absolutely. Yes, yes. Winter season. Yes, Rishit. Beginning of the winter season. Yes. She unpacks potatoes, carrots, and apples from her flowery eco shopping bag. These are big too. I wanted to buy one, But with all this, it was too much to carry home. She pulls out a Chinese cabbage. How is Chinese cabbage different from the cabbage we know? Or is it different? Is Chinese cabbage different from our cabbage? Yes, 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 winter, correct. All of you, right, winter. Is Chinese cabbage the same as our cabbage or is it different from our cabbage? Anybody had Chinese cabbage? Okay, yeah. So Chinese cabbage is a little different from our cabbage. Okay, it's different. I mean, it is of a different taste. Okay. I'd like to go back to get one, but it's too embarrassing. People would look at me and think, here she is again. Besides, I must get ready for work soon. I say nothing, but I know this is aimed at me. There's a place called a community house near here, joined to the local elementary school. I was at high school when we moved here, so I've never seen it. But mum sometimes goes there for her flower arranging class. They do courses and that kind of thing. Once every 3 months, there's a farmer's market that sells vegetables and fruit direct from producers. That's where mum went today. So tell me, the vegetables that you may go out and buy in the market, how are they getting to you from the farmer? How do they get to you? Do you have any idea? How are they getting to you? Yes, Chinese cabbage is different. So how are all these fruits and vegetables getting to you? The farmer has grown them, and you are buying it from your local rediwala shop over here, right? In a city. Yes, farmers have grown them, but how have they reached you? What happens in the middle? Farmer is the source. I appreciate that. You got it from a vegetable seller. So you're saying vegetable seller buys it from the farmer, but the farmer is far away, right? Like, let's say very good onions that come to Delhi are from Nasik. My sabziwala here is not going to Nasik to buy those, nor is the farmer from Nasik coming here to sell him onions, right? These days we are getting apples from all over the world. You get kiwi fruit from New Zealand, apples from California, right? Yeah. So there are people in the middle, right? And typically things will come here and go. Have you in Delhi? If you are in Delhi, you heard of Azadpur Mandi. I've seen a mandi in near Okhla also. So there are mandis, large wholesale markets, right? So a farmer will sell to somebody who will transport to a mandi that, and the vegetable sellers will get it from the mandi, either going there or finding some other methodology to come. So there's a chain, right? There's a chain. Export also the same way, right? Somebody will buy it from the farmer, and company will get it. They will export it to you. It will come here, big exporter, and they'll get it in large volumes, and then they will give it out in small amounts for different vegetable sellers, right? That's how distribution system works. And that same distribution system works for most things, right? Like the medicine that you buy in your retail shop, right? You're buying, like, maybe you'll buy one strip, right? But the retail shop has got a reasonable amount of stock, but his stock is still less than what a wholesaler has, right? So Ria says first, let's say, first farmer sells them in the market at lowest price, and vegetable sellers sell them to local customers, adding charges. Yes, that's the other point in all this. Each person takes a value for doing what they're doing, and this value, can change, right? Many times, you may have come across people saying that the farmer gets a very low price and the middlemen are actually making all the money. So it will vary from product to product, but all products that you're buying locally are distributed in some form or the other. And you buy small amounts, right? But people in the middle have to keep larger quantities, right? So there are wholesalers in the middle who are keeping larger quantities, who are supplying to the retailer next to you. Okay. Hiroya, would you go back for me? Yeah, all right. I point the remote at the TV and switch off. It was only a boring afternoon variety entertainment program anyway, droning on about hyped up stupid gossip. Besides, I've got nothing else to do. And it's not like I don't feel guilty about still living at home with no job at the age of 30. The least I can do is play along with mum's transparent ploy to get me out of the house. Ploy is like a trick. Oh, that's a big help, she says brightly. I stand up and she shoots her hand out at me with a folded up eco bag in it. Daikon and taro. Taro is Arbi. Oh, and bananas too. Wow, easy does it. But I say nothing as I stuff the bag and my wallet into my jacket pocket and head out. I reach the front gate of the school and find it closed. Seems like the community house has a different entrance. There's a signboard and I follow it around to the white building. I enter through the glass front door. An old guy with thick grey hair is sitting behind a narrow front desk. He comes to the window and points to a form in a plastic binder on the counter. Write your name and purpose of visit here, please, and the time. The heading on the form says Visitor's Log. I clock Mum's name there and some others. They wrote market, so that's what I write too, next to my name, Hiroya Suda. The market is in the lobby. The space is not big, but they have a whole lot of tables spread with things for sale. Vegetables, fruit, bread. Not many customers though. I move swiftly around and collect all items on my list. I spy a whiteboard in one corner with the word register on it. Aha, this is where I go to pay. Two ladies stand next to it, yakking away. One wears an agricultural co-op sweatshirt and the other a red bandana around her hair. Around her hair. A bandana is like a piece of cloth which she sort of tied around her hair. Like think of it like a scarf. I head over with my arms full of daikon, taro, and bananas and dump them on the table. Then I go to pull out my wallet and something catches my eye next to the handwritten welcome sign. Manga. The ladies turn to look at me. I'd spotted Manga, a character from the Fujiko F. Fujio manga series. 21 Emon. Manga was a round, squat body and a pointy head, like a chestnut. Squat is low and broad. A curl of hair at the top. I reach out to touch the tiny stuffed toy about 5 centimeters high, but red bandana stops me. So, what is chestnut? Do you know what a chestnut is? Chestnut, what is chestnut in Hindi? What is chestnut in Hindi? Akhrot, nahi, akhrot is walnut. Okay, I also didn't know, so I thought, see, water chestnut is singhada, but chestnut is shah balut. Okay, akhrot is walnut. Okay, so water chestnut is singhada, but chestnut is shah balut. Okay, sorry, that's not for sale. It's one of Sayuri's felted mascots. She gave it to me when I borrowed a book. Sayuri? Sayuri Komachi in the library. That's who made it. The manga artist duo Fujiko Fujio is famous for writing Doraemon and other works, but 21 Emon is not famous. Manga, do you all understand what manga is? Do you know manga? What is manga? What is manga?
Is it
Anybody,
a
what is manga?
series?
Japanese comic book, Ishika says yes. Japanese comic, also graphic novels, right? And in India also now graphic novels have started to come. Typically, we think of comics as something that is directed at kids, but over there it's not necessarily so, right? But yeah, it is Japanese comic book. Okay, and so 21 Emon is obviously a series, and Doraemon. Anybody read Doraemon? I think that is reasonably famous here, Doraemon. Right? I think my kids used to read Doraemon. It's a futuristic sci-fi story. Sci-fi is science fiction about Emon, a kid who inherits a rundown inn that's been in his family for centuries. I think it's their best work, but I am in the minority. That's why this girl, Sayuri Komachi, sounds interesting. What's she like? I wouldn't mind having a look at her. I shove the taro and bananas in the bag and stick the great big daikon under my arm, then get directions for the library. It's the back of the building, easy enough to find. First, I stand in the doorway to check out the scene. At the front desk, a girl with a ponytail is very carefully scanning barcodes from a big pile of books. So this is Sayuri Komachi. Interesting. She's younger than I expected. Probably still a teenager. Very cute, though. Petite, big round eyes. She's like a squirrel. Damn, I can't help giving a stupid smile. Right? So how would you describe a squirrel? How would you describe a squirrel? So, Sambesh, I think that manga is a book that have anime and have Japanese story. No, anime is different. We'll come across anime soon, but anime is different from manga. Anime is animation and manga is comic or a graphic novel. Okay, so back to the current question. How would you describe a squirrel? Yes, small and furry. Yeah, for sure. How else would you describe a squirrel? Any other thoughts? How else would you describe? Right, they're fairly frisky, right? They move on really fast, right? Yes, they're small, they're energetic, cute and small. What else? What's just been mentioned in the paragraph we just read? One quality about the squirrel, which strikes you when you look at a squirrel. And many times you'll see the squirrels sitting on their haunches, on their back, right? Yes, good speed for running, right? But the eyes is what the author just mentioned, and that's very striking, right? They have very big eyes, right? Okay, so time to prep myself. Okay, this is a library. It's free. Anyone can enter. Go. I take a deep breath and edge in. But Sayuri catches wind of me. Oh. Her head bobs up and she looks up at me. My feet stop. Hello, she smiles. Oh, hi. I mumble and keep moving. The library is more compact than a normal city one. I reach the stacks and find myself surrounded by rows of bookshelves. Nostalgia washes over me. This place is atmosphere, different from a bookshop with just new books. In here, you sense the weight of time stretching way back to the past. I rotate my body 360 degrees to absorb it all. Okay, so just go back, Manisha, ma'am, to the earlier page. So, if you notice over here, uh, the way the author has written it, what do you get a sense that is he happy to meet people or not so happy to meet people? Hiroya, what is your sense? Just from what we just read. Go, I says go. I take a deep breath and edge it, but Sayuri catches wind of me. Oh, her head bobs up and she looks at me. My feet stop. What is your sense? I mean, is he, Hiroya, is he happy to meet people? He's not so happy to meet people. Slightly not. Okay. So one of you said happy to meet people. He is shy. Yeah, that was my impression because he didn't want to be, you know, he didn't want to be, didn't want to be noticed, right? That's the impression I got. Okay, and here they've described the difference between the bookshop and a library as well. Okay, Manisha, next page. After a while, I summoned the courage to speak to Sayuri. Have you got manga? So you see now, it took him some time to summon the courage. And why do you think he's like this? Why do you think he is shy? And why do you think he needs courage to speak to Sayuri in a library? What is the reason? What do you think? Why is he like this? Or why has he become like this? What do you think? Why do you think he's like this? A little shy, not wanting to be noticed by people. Why do you think? What could be the reason? He doesn't interact with many people. He is he's educated. I mean, he's educated, but he's not studying right now, and he's not employed, right? So he's spending a lot of his time, as we just saw, at home, not interacting much with people, right? So he's happy to be by himself and not meet people, and that's how he's become, right? So that comes out in how he's acting. Have you got manga? She grins at me. Yes, we do. Just a few. Fearlessly, I continue. Do you like 21 Emon? 21 Emon? Yeah, a Fujiko Fujio. Sayuri looks confused. I know Doraemon, but she smiles apologetically. Huh, that's what most people say. I never understand. But you made manga for the lady at the market, I blurt in disappointment. Sayuri nods. You mean the mascot Miss Moroi is fond of? Miss Komachi, the librarian, made that. You'll find her in the reference corner at the back. She can probably recommend some manga for you too. Ding! A new bell rings in my heart. Now I get it. The library has more than one member of staff. Then I see the name tag around Ponytail Girl's neck. Which was blocked by the pile of books until now. Her name is Nozomi Morinaga. Hope bubbles like a spring in my chest as I head for the reference corner. I locate it in the other side of a dual-purpose partition notice board. I inch towards the edge and peer around the corner. Yeah, the sight of a humongous, fearsome woman squeezed behind the counter nearly causes my heart to stop. No way is this the Yuri Komachi. In great haste, I turn around and rush back to the front desk. I didn't see anybody except someone who looks like Genma Saotome. For a few seconds, Nozomi says nothing. Who's that? She asks. Genma Saotome is Ranmei one half, you know, the one who turns into a giant panda when water splashes on him. A person who turns into a panda? That sounds fun. No, Genma Saotome is one frigging tough, unfriendly giant panda. I wish I could explain this to her. So, is that Miss Komachi in there who makes the stuffed animals? Yes, it is. She's really good with her hands. Aha, now I get it. I had it fixed in my head that a girl made the manga toy because of red bandanas calling her Sayuri. But if Genma Satome made it, that too could be interesting. Maybe I can talk to her. Right? But now you see, he's interested in talking to the person who made that mascot because he thinks obviously there's something in common. Right? I'll look after your things. Please go and consult her. Right? So now we also have the answer to that picture, right? He is in the library and he's bought all these vegetables that's the picture that we saw. Nozomi smiles and holds her hands out to me. How can I say no? I hand her my eco bag and daikon, then return to the reference corner. At second glance, I confirm that the woman's name tag reads Sayuri Komachi. Her hands move as if she's in a state of deep concentration. I inch forward and observe that she appears to be making a tiny stuffed animal. She stabs a needle into a ball of wool, placed in a square foam mat. This action is repeated over and over. Is that how she makes the toys? Suddenly she stops and turns to look at me. Man, her eyes are scary. What are you looking for? Her voice is deep and low. I gulp. What am I looking for? Words spring into my mind and take me by surprise. Tears form. I'm looking for, yeah, that's right. I'm looking for, oh crap. Why am I blubbering? Blubbering is, when you're crying and not able to talk properly. I wipe my palm over my cheek. Miss Kamachi is unmoved. She looks around and begins stabbing with the needle again. Rumiko Takahashi is rather good, don't you think? Aha, she heard me earlier. Rumiko Takahashi is the creator of Ranma One Half. I probably offended her by calling her Genma Saotome. Yes. Uruse Yatsura and Mason Ikuku are good, but I think I like the Mermaid Saga series most. Me too, me too. We start joying about her favorite manga, The Drifting Classroom by Kazue Umezu, Master Kirton by Naoki Urasawa, and Emperor of the Land of the Rising Sun by Ryoko Yamagishi. To name a few, Miss Komachi knows every title. I mentioned. She doesn't say much. She works on a soft toy the whole time, giving spot on comments every now and then. Yeah, so you see now he's excited to talk to her because, you know, they have a common interest, right? And he doesn't find people who know manga as much as he does, right? So he's excited now to talk to her. After a while, she stops and opens an orange box in front of her. I recognize the honeycomb and white flower pattern. It's a box of Kurimiyado honey-dome soft cookies. Everybody knows these. My grandma used to love them, and they always appear at family gatherings. Grandma always said they were delicious and easy to chew. I thought Miss Komachi would offer me a honey dome cookie, but she doesn't. The box is for storing her toy making gear. She must like recycling things. She sticks the needle into a pincushion, closes the lid, and looks at me with laser eyes. For someone so young, you certainly know the old manga. My uncle had a manga cafe. I used to hang out there when I was at elementary school. A manga cafe is not like the internet cafe of today. Basically, it's a coffee shop with heaps of manga. They were common when I was a kid. They don't have private rooms, just tables where you can sit and order a drink, then read from the manga library in the shop. My mother went out to work when I was 8, so after school, I used to ride my bike for 20 minutes to the Kitami Manga Cafe, run by my uncle and aunt. They let me stay as long as I liked and served me drinks while I read manga. I never paid for the drinks, but I'm pretty sure Mum settled up later. I'd hang out there until she finished work and read from their huge collection. That's how I met my childhood friends in all the manga I read. Okay, so that question in the beginning is finally answered, right? What he was referring to in the first paragraph are all his manga friends. Okay, so yes, the guess that it was in a book, characters from a book, was a reasonable one. I began to draw them and became obsessed with illustrating. After high school, I went to design school to study it, but couldn't find a job. There was no place where I could do the kind of illustration work I liked, and I didn't know how to go about applying for other jobs. I had nothing going for me except my ability to draw, and I couldn't even find a job doing that. Then I didn't, sorry, read that again. Except my ability to draw, and if I couldn't find a job doing that, then I didn't know how I could be capable of doing anything else. In the end, I never found a proper job, and I never managed to stick with all the part time ones I tried. So here I am at 30 and still a NEET. So, any thought on Hiroya's story so far? Any thought on Hiroya's story so far? Why he doesn't have a job at 30? Any thoughts? Any thoughts? Right? What does he say? He said he liked to do illustration and he couldn't find that kind of job and he couldn't hold on to any part time job, and that's why he's still unemployed. Any thought on that? What would you have done if you were Hiroya? What would you do in that situation? Right? Would you like to do and you're not finding a job on that? What are you going to do? What would you do? Yes, okay, illustrations. I'm not so sure about that. Uh, don't necessarily agree. There's a lot of illustration that happens in many, many different industries. It's a question of how you think about it. So, yeah, he couldn't find a job of his interest. What would you do if you were in that situation? What would you do? He chose to do nothing, right? He took up some part time jobs and he couldn't hold on to them for whatever reason, right? What would you do? What are your thoughts? What would you do? Okay. I would look for other opportunities related to the same stream. I would find jobs and acquire skills required. Right. So he's not showing enough desire to get employed, right? If he had, he would find other opportunities. Yes, as you all saying, we look for other opportunities. Exactly. Okay. Let's get back to the book. Yes, Ratna Rishi says, I would find any job. Manga artists are incredible. I thought illustrating would be a cool thing to do and went to vocational school. Then I discovered I didn't have what it took to make it as an artist. This is a pathetic excuse I give for being unemployed. Miss Kumachi rolls her head around and clicks her neck. Why is that? Her head tilts to one side. Because only the chosen few can make a living from illustrating. Not just illustrating either. Probably less than 1% in 100 can turn the thing they like doing into paid work. Miss Kumachi rolls her head again and lifts an index finger. I'm going to give you a maths lesson. What? In the case of 100 people, one person out of 100 is 1%, correct? Yeah. But in the case of one person doing the thing they want to do, there is only one yourself, which means one person out of one, which is 100%. Ah, so there's a 100% chance. Ah, this doesn't sound right. It's some kind of trick. But Miss Kamachi's expression does not change. She still looks dead serious and scary. She is not joking. Okay, so let's see what she shared again. But in the case of one person, just go back, Manisha. But in the case of one person doing the thing they want to do, there is only one yourself, which means one person out of one, which is 100%. Right? So basically, she's saying, you know, stick at it. Right? That's what she's saying. Keep doing, keep trying. Right? Let's see. Yeah. Next page, Manisha. She straightens up and turns to face her computer. Then suddenly she launches into pounding the keyboard with incredible speed. Ta 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 ta. Are you Kenshiro? I can't help myself. She is just like Kenshiro in the Fist of the North Star, unleashing his killer technique on an enemy by attacking at high speed with supreme skill. Miss Komachi says nothing. After a final tar, she sits up. The printer begins to work. You're already living, she growls in a threatening voice when she hands me the sheet of paper from the printer. It sends shivers up my spine. I recognize I recognize the parody of Kenshiro's catchphrase, you are already dead. The printout has one line of writing on it, a book called Evolution, a visual record, that and with the author's name and the shelf number. Ah, what's this manga? There is no manga I could recommend to you. Nothing that could surpass the wealth of treasures you accumulated in your childhood. She begins to search through the fourth drawer below the counter. I watch and wonder what she's doing. Suddenly she reaches across and hands me something. This one is for you. Please take. It's a bonus gift with the book. Okay, let's stop here, Manisha, ma'am. We're running a little over. Okay. So manga is like you can think of it as comic books, Japanese comic books. Da 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 da, just the sound that's coming out of the printer or her typing, actually, not the printer, her typing. Okay, so let's stop there. Okay, Manisha, ma'am, over to you. Kenshiro is a character she just referred to, and one of the mangas that they know in common. And she was a character from there. Over to you, Manisha.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful read, and we get to know more about it, mangas and other part of the library parts, like why library is important and how it's going to be helpful for us. And if in case we are not adjusting in our job, so what could be the other options, how to go about it. So I believe children and everyone has received a little benefit out of it. So thank you so much for bringing that. And somehow the books are really connected. I always feel whenever the reading is being done that the book is really connected to our real life. And somehow it answers the question which we are looking for. So it is not the book justifies the name, what we are looking for is in the library. So whatever questions we have in our mind for like summer break got over, what is next, how to go about it, whatever questions we have, the book is always the answer. So I'll suggest everyone that we all can start reading some books if you're already not, and then you will also feel that it is connected with your life. So thank you, sir, for that. And as we all know, we do read 2 books in English and 1 in Hindi. So now, last but not the least, it is the Hindi book, which is written by Ruskin Bond. Ruskin Bond writes the book which is very much linked to the nature. हमारे नेचर और आसपास की ही कहानी होती है. और ये जो हम पर्टिकुलर बुक पढ़ रहे हैं ये हिंदी में लिखी हुई है, जैसे कि दोनों लैंग्वेजेस हो जाए एंड बच्चे दोनों लैंग्वेज की बुक में से जो उन्हें पसंद है वो रीड करें, उस पर रिफ्लेक्ट करें और रिफ्लेक्शन के बाद वो बताएं कि उनके दिल में उनके मन में क्या चल रहा है और इस तरीके से वो अपनी बातों को आगे बढ़ाएं और आगे बढ़ाने के बाद वो हमारे साथ शेयर करें. तो आज का हमारे चैप्टर का टाइटल है मृतक का उपहार. तो कोई मुझे बताना चाहेगा मृतक का उपहार, यहाँ पे मृतक जो शब्द है उससे आपका क्या मतलब है, आप क्या समझते हैं इस वर्ड से? Dead, that's wonderful. So one who is not there in this world, उन्होंने हमें कुछ गिफ्ट दिया. सो लेट्स सी ये गिफ्ट उन्होंने अपने जाने के पहले दिया या जाने के बाद ऐसा कुछ वो करके गए जो हमारे लिए बेनिफिशियल हो सकता है या हमें कुछ फायदा हो सकता है. तो ये हमें स्टोरी के बाद ही पता चलेगा. तो आई स्टार्ट माई बुक रीडिंग फ्रॉम हियर. मृतक का उपहार. एक मरा हुआ आदमी किसी के लिए अच्छा नहीं होता. बूढ़े शिकारी लत्थू ने कैंप फायर के दहकते अंगारों को देखकर अपने पतले कंधों के चारों ओर एक जीना सा कंबल लपेटते हुए कहा. हमने हल्द्वानी के पास तराई के जंगलों में एक बढ़िया लेकिन थका देने वाला दिन बिताया. वहां मैं दलदली हिरणों की तस्वीरें खींच रहा था. हमारे जंगल के रेस्ट हाउस में लौटने पर नत्थू के सामने के बरामदे के पास लकड़ी जला दी थी और हम इसके चारों ओर इकट्ठा हो गए थे. नत्थू, मैं और चौकीदार घनश्याम सिंह. हम एक पड़ोसी गांव में हुई एक आत्महत्या पर चर्चा कर रहे थे. मैं आत्महत्या का विवरण भूल गया. यह एक निराश दूल्हे से जुड़ा था, लेकिन इस चर्चा में घनश्याम सिंह की कुछ दिलचस्प यादों का पिटारा खुल गया. मरे हुए आदमियों के बारे में हम सभी नत्थू की भावनाओं से सहमत थे. तभी घनश्याम ने बीच में टोकते हुए कहा, मैं इस बारे में नहीं जानता भाई. कम से कम एक मरा हुआ आदमी मेरे एक दोस्त के लिए काफी सौभाग्य लेकर आया था. वह भला कैसे हुआ, मैंने पूछा. करीब 20 साल पहले, घनश्याम सिंह ने कहा. मैं पुलिस में था. पहाड़ियों के पास अहिरपुर गांव में एक छोटी सी पुलिस चौकी के 6 कांस्टेबलों में से एक. गांव के पिछले भाग में एक छोटी सी जलधारा बहती थी. उसमें झरनों से पानी आता था. सबसे गर्म मौसम के दौरान भी कई फीट पानी होता था, जबकि भारी बारिश के बाद वह एक गरजती हुई धारा बन जाती थी. हमारी चौकी का प्रभारी हेड कांस्टेबल दिलावर सिंह था. वह एक अच्छे परिवार से था। जिनके बुरे दिन आ गए थे, वह एक बाका आदमी था। वह अच्छे कपड़े पहनता था, हमेशा अपना पैसा मिलने से पहले ही खर्च कर देता था। यहाँ पे मैं 2 मिनट का पॉज लूंगी और आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी कि हमेशा अपना पैसा मिलने से पहले ही खर्च कर देता था, तो जब हमें कोई चीज मिली ही नहीं तो हम उसे कैसे खर्च कर सकते हैं? तो आप क्या सोचते हैं इस बारे में? कोई बताना चाहेगा कि जो चीज हमें नहीं मिली उसके हम कैसे ही खर्च कर सकते हैं? इज इट पॉसिबल? नहीं खर्च कर सकते, बट यहाँ पे तो लिखा हुआ है, तो ये गलत तो नहीं हो सकता। तो कैसे खर्च कर सकते हैं जब हमें पैसे मिले ही नहीं है? सोचिए, सोच के बताइए, ये पॉसिबल कैसे हुआ?
Either you imagine what you're going to spend, or you have debt and it's gone away directly in debt.
सर्टेनली। सो हम लोग क्रेडिट कार्ड के बारे में भी सुने हैं, इमेजिनेशन, जैसे कि सर ने कहा। तो हम इमेजिन भी कर सकते हैं, और या तो हमने क्रेडिट कार्ड के थ्रू या लोन के थ्रू हमने वो पैसे को पहले ही खर्च कर दिया, जो कि हमें बाद में मिलना चाहिए था। थैंक यू सो मच सर फॉर एडिंग ऑन। वह अच्छे घोड़े के मांस का शौकीन था। वह एक सुंदर घोड़ी लीला की सवारी करता था। 250 रुपये नकद देकर और बाकी 250 रुपये 6 महीने में देने का वादा करके उसने वह घोड़ी हासिल की थी। अगर वह इतने समय में रकम नहीं चुका पाता तो उसे घोड़ी वापस करनी पड़ती और पहले दी गई रकम जब्त हो जाती। लेकिन दिलावर सिंह को अहिरपुर के अमीर बनिए लाला रामदास से बाकी रकम उधार मिल जाने की उम्मीद थी। अहिरपुर का बनिया सबसे नीच लोगों में से एक था। वह मोटा और पिलपिला, ज्यादा खाने और सारा दिन अपने दुकान पर बैठे रहने वाला, लेकिन बहुत अमीर व्यक्ति था। उसका घर बहुत बड़ा था, जो गांव से कुछ दूरी पर धारा के पास था। जब हम फिजिकल एक्सरसाइजेस नहीं करते, पूरा दिन हम खाते और एक जगह बैठे रहते, तो नेचुरली हमें हेल्थ पे कुछ ना कुछ इम्पैक्ट आ ही जाता है। तो यहाँ पे इसी के बारे में बोला गया है कि वो आदमी बहुत ज्यादा मोटा हो गया था, क्योंकि खाता था और एक ही जगह पे बैठे रहता था। यहाँ पे एक चीज आप और भी देखिए कि ये फिजिकल हेल्थ के इंपॉर्टेंस के बारे में भी बात कर रहे हैं, इफ नॉट डायरेक्टली देन इनडायरेक्टली। अगर आपकी हेल्थ अच्छी नहीं है तो बाद में आपको प्रॉब्लम भी हो सकती है। एंड काफी सारी बीमारियां जो आप ऑलरेडी जानते हैं, उसके हेल्थ अच्छी नहीं होने के कारण वो पॉसिबिलिटी हो जाती है। लेकिन वह अपने ग्राहकों से दूर गांव के बाहर क्यों रहता था, मैंने पूछा। इससे उसे कोई फर्क नहीं पड़ता था, घनश्याम ने कहा। हर किसी पर उसका कर्ज था, और चाहे वे इसे चाहे या ना चाहे, लेकिन उससे कर्ज लेने को मजबूर थे। उसके पिता गांव के अंदर रहते थे, लेकिन उन्हें डकैतों ने लूट लिया था। इतनी पिटाई भी की थी कि जीवन भर के लिए अपंग होकर रह गए थे। उस मौके पर उनकी मदद के लिए एक भी ग्रामीण नहीं आया था। वे इसे कभी नहीं भूले थे। इसलिए उसने अपने लिए गांव के बाहर एक ऊंची दीवार और केवल एक प्रवेश द्वार वाला एक और घर बनाया। दीवार के अंदर एक आंगन था, जिसमें एक टट्टू के लिए एक अस्तबल और 2 गांव के लिए एक गौशाला थी। उस बाड़ी के एक तरफ घर बनाया हुआ था। प्रांगण का भारी भरकम दरवाजा बंद होने के बाद बनिए के पैसे की थैलियां उसके छोटे से किले में सुरक्षित थी। वृद्ध की मृत्यु के बाद ही अहिरपुर में एक पुलिस चौकी बनाई गई थी। तो रामदास के पास पुलिस चौकी भी थी और किला भी। पुलिस से उसे कोई सुरक्षा नहीं मिलती थी। वह इतना मतलबी था कि उसके पास से कभी 1 लीटर तेल या चुटकी भर नमक तक पुलिस चौकी में नहीं आया था। स्वाभाविक रूप से उसने हमारा कोई जुड़ाव नहीं था। अहिरपुर के लोग उससे नफरत करते थे और उससे डरते थे, क्योंकि उनमें से ज्यादातर उनके कर्जों में डूबे हुए थे और व्यवहारिक रूप से उसके गुलाम थे। तो यहाँ पे ये देखा गया है कि ये जो है बंदा, ये बहुत ही ज्यादा रिच है, एंड उस गांव में बहुत से लोग काफी ही पुअर है, तो उनको जब भी पैसों की जरूरत पड़ती है, ये पैसों से तो उनकी हेल्प करता है, बट एम्पैथी उसके पास नहीं। एंड एम्पैथी नहीं होने के कारण हर समय लोग उससे डरे भी रहते थे, क्योंकि उन्हें लगता था कि वो ज्यादा इंटरेस्ट ले सकता है, और इस कारण से क्योंकि वो किसी की हेल्प नहीं करता था, तो कोई उसे पसंद भी नहीं करते थे। और एक ट्रेजिडी हो गई थी, उस ट्रेजिडी के कारण वो बाहर आके रहने लगा था अपने घर से। उसने अपना घर एक बाहर गांव के बाहर बनाया था, और गांव के अंदर वो सबके साथ नहीं रहता था। जब तक दिलावर सिंह को अपनी घोड़ी लीला के बाकी 250 रुपए देने का समय आया, तो वह रामदास के पास कर्ज लेने गया। उसे ब्याज के जरिए अच्छी तरह से निचोड़े जाने की उम्मीद थी, लेकिन उसे बहुत आश्चर्य हुआ और गुस्सा आया जब बनिए ने उसे किसी भी शर्त पर कर्ज देने से इनकार कर दिया। ऐसा लग रहा था कि दिलावर को घोड़ी वापस करनी होगी और किसी टट्टू की सवारी से संतोष करना पड़ा। भुगतान की तारीख से कुछ दिन पहले दिलावर सिंह को एक मामले की जांच के लिए करीब 5 मील नीचे की ओर एक गांव का दौरा करना पड़ा। वह मुझे अपने साथ ले गया। उस रात वापसी के दौरान एक भयानक आंधी तूफान ने हमें जंगलों में एक छोटी सी झोपड़ी में आसरा लेने के लिए मजबूर कर दिया। जब आखिरकार तूफान थम गया, तो हम अपने रास्ते पर फिर चलने लगे। मैं पैदल और लीला पर सवार दिलावर सिंह। रास्ते भर उसने लीला से अलग होने की अपनी बदनसीबी को कोसा और रामदास को भी कोसता रहा। हम बनियों के घर से ज्यादा दूर नहीं थे। फिर आसमान में गुजरते तूफान बादलों के पीछे से ऊंचा पूरा चांद निकल आया, और लीला अचानक नदी के किनारे किसी सफेद चीज को देखकर जोर से कांपने लगी। वह एक मरे हुए आदमी का नंगा शरीर था। उसे या तो जलाए बिना धारा में धकेल दिया गया था, या फिर चौड़ी हो गई धारा चिता को बाहर ले गई थी। मैं उसे धारा में धकेलने ही वाला था कि दिलावर ने मुझे ये कहते हुए रोक दिया कि लीला को डराने वाली लाश अब उसे बचा भी सकती है। हमने मिलकर उस लाश को किनारे से थोड़ा ऊपर खींचा, फिर घोड़ी को एक पेड़ से बांधकर लाश को बनिए के घर तक ले गए और उसे मुख्य द्वार के सामने खड़ा कर दिया। धारा के पास पहुंचकर दिलावर लीला पर सवार हुआ और हम जंगल में छिप गए। गांव के बाकी सभी लोगों की तरह हम जानते थे कि बनिया जल्दी उठता है, हमेशा सबसे पहले अपने घर से निकलकर शौच के लिए बाहर जाता है। हम वहीं बैठे इंतजार कर रहे थे। भोर की मंद मंद रोशनी ने चीजों को दिखाना शुरू ही किया था कि बनिए के आंगन का दरवाजा खुलता हुआ सुनाई दिया। जोर की आवाज आई, अचरज भरी, और फिर एक लंबी चुप्पी। क्या हुआ था? रामदास ने दरवाजा खोला था और लाश उस पर गिरी थी। वह इतना डर गया कि उसके होश ही उड़ गए। वह जल्दी ही समझ गया कि उस लाश के वहां होने के लिए कोई दुश्मन जिम्मेदार है, लेकिन इससे कैसे छुटकारा पाया जाए? धारा, यहाँ तक कि लाश को छूना भी अपवित्रता थी। लेकिन जैसे कि कहा जाता है, जहां आंखें नहीं हैं वहां कोई जाति नहीं होती, और वह लाश को नदी के किनारे की ओर घसीटने लगा, हाफता और पसीना बहाता हुआ, लेकिन दहशत से एकदम ठंडा। जब हम अपने आश्रय से लापरवाही दिखाते हुए निकले, तो वह लगभग धारा तक पहुंच गया था। आह, बनिया जी, तुम आज सुबह जल्दी उठ गए, दिलावर सिंह ने कहा। भाई, यह क्या है? क्या हम तुम्हारे बदनसीब देनदारों में से कोई है? क्या तुमने उसकी जान लेकर उसके कपड़े भी ले लिए हैं? रामदास घुटनों के बल गिर पड़ा। उसकी आवाज नहीं निकली, और वह उस लाश की तरह पीला पड़ गया, जबकि पैर उसके अब भी पकड़े रखे थे। दिलावर सिंह घोड़ी से नीचे उतरा, उसे बाह से पकड़ा और घसीटते हुए अपने पैरों में डाल दिया। थानेदार साहब, मैं आपको पैसे दे दूंगा, रामदास ने हंसते हुए कहा। कौन से पैसे? जो 250 रुपए आपको पिछले हफ्ते चाहिए थे। तो जल्दी करो, दिलावर सिंह ने कहा, नहीं तो कोई और आ जाएगा और मैं तुम्हें गिरफ्तार करने के लिए मजबूर हो जाऊंगा। चलो भागो यहाँ से। बदनसीब रामदास ने महसूस किया कि वे एक बुरी स्थिति में फंस गया है। यह सच है कि वह निर्दोष था, लेकिन उसके ये साबित करने से पहले वही पुलिस उसे गिरफ्तार कर लेगी जिसे उसने तिरस्कार करके भगा दिया था। वकील उसकी बचत खा जाते, उसे परिवार से दूर करके वह अपनी सुख सुविधाओं से वंचित कर दिया जाता। सबसे बुरी बात यह कि कर्जदार कर्ज चुकाने में देरी करते। थोड़ी सी हिचकिचाहट के बाद वो भागकर अपने घर चला गया और 250 रुपए लेकर लौट आया। उसने दिलावर सिंह को वह रकम सौंप दी, जहां तक मुझे पता है, क्योंकि कुछ ही हफ्तों बाद मेरा तबादला अहिरपुर से हो गया था। उसने कभी दिलावर सिंह से इसकी वापसी के लिए नहीं कहा। और उस लाश का क्या हुआ, मैंने पूछा। हमने उसे वापस धारा में धकेल दिया, घनश्याम ने कहा। उसने अपने उद्देश्य को अच्छी तरीके से पूरा किया था। नत्थु, क्या तुम अब भी इस बात पर जोर देते हो कि मरा हुआ आदमी किसी के लिए अच्छा नहीं होता? बिल्कुल भी अच्छा नहीं होता। नत्थु ने आग की तेजी से लुप्त होती चमक में थूकते हुए कहा। तुम्हारे तबादले के कुछ ही समय बाद मैं अहिरपुर आया था। मुझे थानेदार दिलावर सिंह से मिलने और उनके और उसकी बेहतरीन घोड़ी देखने का सौभाग्य मिला था। यह सच है कि उसने बनिए को दबा लिया था, क्योंकि रामदास मुफ्त में घोड़ी के लिए चारा उपलब्ध कराता था। लेकिन एक दिन बाद लेकिन एक दिन जब दिलावर सिंह उसकी सवारी कर रहा था, तो घोड़ी को दौड़ा पड़ गया और उसने अपने मालिक को सड़क पर पटक दिया। उसकी गर्दन टूट गई। वह घोड़ी वास्तव में एक मृत व्यक्ति का उपहार थी। इस घटनाक्रम से बनिया काफी खुश हुआ होगा, मैंने कहा। कुछ लोग कहते हैं कि उसने घोड़ी के चारे में जहर मिला दिया था। फिर भी उसने बेचारे दिलावर सिंह की चिता के लिए तेल देकर पुलिस को खुश रखा और इसके लिए उसे पैसे लेने से भी उदारता से मना कर दिया। यहाँ पे ये कहानी खत्म होती है। एंड जैसे कि कहा गया है कि मरा हुआ व्यक्ति कभी भी किसी के कोई काम नहीं आ सकता, तो शुरुआत में ये पॉजिटिव नोट से स्टार्ट हुआ और उसके बाद फिर दिखाया कि किस तरीके से एक्सीडेंटली जिसने उसे खरीदा था, जिस भी लालच से लिया या जिस तरीके से लोगों को परेशान किया, उसके बावजूद वो वापस वहीं पे परेशानी में आ गया। तो यहाँ पे मैं इनवाइट करना चाहती हूँ आपकी सोच को, आपकी राय को। आपको क्या लगता है कि किसी को परेशान करके पैसे लेने चाहिए, या फिर सच्चाई उन्हें बता करके हेल्प के लिए या लोन के हिसाब से पैसे लेने चाहिए? क्या करना चाहिए हम सभी को? किसी का फायदा उठा के पैसे लेने चाहिए या फिर प्रॉपर तरीके से लोन के हिसाब से? नो मैम, फायदा नहीं उठाना चाहिए। ठीक है, तो हमें क्या करना चाहिए था? अगर किसी को परेशान करना अच्छा नहीं है, तो फिर इस कहानी में हम क्या और कर सकते थे? जब वो डेड बॉडी मिली उनको, तो उन्हें क्या करना चाहिए था? क्या हम इस कहानी के अंत को थोड़ा चेंज कर सकते हैं, थोड़ा पॉजिटिविटी लाने के लिए? एक्चुअली एंड तो इसकी पॉजिटिव नोट्स में ही हुआ है, अगर आप देखें। ये एक सीख देता है कि अगर हम किसी को परेशान करते हैं तो हमें वापस कर्मा के हिसाब से वापस हमारे पास भी आ जाती है चीजें। तो पॉजिटिव नोट ही है। बट यस, इस कहानी को हम थोड़ा चेंज कर सकते हैं। सो अगर आप चाहें तो यहाँ पे आप मुझे मैसेज में लिख सकते हैं अपनी रिफ्लेक्शन, मैं इसको लेकर के पोस्ट कर दूंगी। और अगर आप चाहो तो अच्छे से सोच करके आप मुझे एक प्रॉपर रिफ्लेक्शन भेज सकते हैं। इस कहानी को हम किस तरीके से चेंज कर सकते हैं, चॉइस आपके पास है। या तो आप चाहो तभी मुझे लिख दीजिए व्हाट्सएप में या यहीं पे ग्रुप के चैट बॉक्स में, और या आप चाहो तो टाइम लेकर के उसे चेंज कर सकते हैं। सर, आप कैसे चेंज करना चाहेंगे इस कहानी को?
बेसिकली इसमें यही इशू था ना कि उसको वो 250 रुपए चाहिए थे। तो परिस्थिति में जिसमें था उसमें उसको वही, मतलब जल्दी से वही तरीका मिला। पर अगर वो सही तरीके का करता तो हमारी कहानी जल्दी खत्म नहीं होती, मेरे को लगता है। तो दिक्कत ऑथर की वही हुई होगी कि क्योंकि वही होता है ना, आप मतलब सही करते हो, जरूरी नहीं है कि एकदम आपको रिजल्ट मिले, पर लॉन्ग टर्म में तो वही वही फायदा देता है। और क्योंकि हम शॉर्ट टर्म में गलत काम, गलत तरीके से उसने मतलब उससे पैसे लिए, वो गलत किया क्योंकि शॉर्ट टर्म में उसको जल्दी, बेसिकली जल्दी थी पैसों की। तो वही दिक्कत है कि आप वही शॉर्ट टर्म में चले जाते हो और लॉन्ग टर्म नहीं सोचते। तो दूसरा तरीका could have been कि उसने उसने बॉडी को उसने मेरे ख्याल कहा था कि उसमें बॉडी में कपड़े नहीं थे, पर जैसे ही बॉडी को उठाया या कुछ किया और डालने लगा, कहीं से मतलब मुंह में से 250 रुपये निकल आए, समथिंग लाइक दैट, कि वो अच्छा करने की कोशिश किया किया करने की गया और उससे उसको 250 रुपये उस तरीके से मिल गए। मे बी दैट कुड बी अ वे।
एक चीज और भी मैं इसमें ऐड कर सकती हूँ कि ठीक है, उसने उसको पैसों की जरूरत थी और पैसों की जरूरत के कारण उसने इस तरीके से किया। उसको एक आइडिया आ गया वो बॉडी को देखते ही कि चलो उसको डिस्पोज करने की जगह मैं अपना काम निकाल लूं। तो थोड़े दिनों बाद वो पैसे वापस भी कर सकता था, इफ नॉट सही तरीके से, मतलब किसी ना किसी तरीके से कर सकता था। थोड़े लोन के हिसाब से सोच करके वो पार्ट पार्ट पेमेंट भी कर सकता था, 10 रुपए 20 रुपए 50 रुपए देके, बिकॉज जिन जमानों की कहानी है 250 रुपये काफी होते हैं, क्योंकि आज के जमानों में तो 500 रुपये नहीं मिलती घोड़िया। पर उन जमानों में मिल जाती होगी जिस तरीके से ये लिखा हुआ है। तो यस, गलती करी तो मे बी एक एनवेलप में डाल करके वापस कर सकता था, दैट वुड बी वन बेटर थिंग। पर ठीक है, जो भी है, कहानी वॉज गुड। इट हैज गिवन अस अ लेसन कि शॉर्ट टर्म गेन के लिए हम अपना लॉन्ग टर्म का नुकसान कर लेते हैं। अब किसी के हेड नेक में प्रॉब्लम आ गया तो इट कुड बी लॉन्ग टर्म में काफी प्रॉब्लम भी होती ही है। तो शॉर्ट टर्म गेन के लिए प्लीज आगे मत बढ़िए, हमेशा आगे के बारे में सोचिए और ये सोचिए कि अगर आज आप ऐसा काम कर रहे हैं तो उसका लॉन्ग टर्म में आपके ऊपर क्या इम्पैक्ट आने वाला है, वो पॉजिटिव रहेगा कि नेगेटिव रहेगा। तो जब भी आप कुछ गलत काम कर रहे हैं, आपको आपका दिल आपको बता देता है कि आप गलत कर रहे हैं कि सही। तो जब भी आपको लगता है कि हाँ, थोड़ी सी गुंजाइश है, इसको हम चेंज कर सकते हैं, तो प्लीज पॉज, उस समय रिफ्लेक्ट करिए, देन एक्ट। सो बेस्ट वे हमेशा यही होता है ये साइकिल के लिए, पॉज रिफ्लेक्ट एंड एक्ट। थोड़ी देर रुकिए, सोचिए और फिर आप करिए। जब आप इमीडिएट कुछ काम करते हैं तो वो हमेशा नेगेटिव ही रहता है। सो सोच करके फिर आगे बढ़िए। विद दैट नोट आई एंड टुडेज सेशन। रिफ्लेक्शन इज वेलकम। सिद्धार्थ ने यहाँ पे लिखा है, एज सून ही सॉ द बॉडी he took it to the police station for investigation and it started linking to the rich man. For short term pleasure, people often sacrifice their long term. Yeah, certainly. छोटे कम टाइम में जो आपको फायदा मिलता है, लॉन्ग टर्म में हमेशा वो नुकसान ही देता है। विद दैट नोट, थैंक यू एवरीवन फॉर ज्वाइनिंग। Wishing you a very happy Sunday and a week ahead. I'll wait for your reflection post. Bye bye. Take care.
बाय, थैंक यू मैम, बाय।